Hello and welcome to the Game Dev Local Podcast. I'm your host, Oscar Clark, he, him pronouns, and I am on a podquest to learn everything you wanted to know about game dev but never dared to ask. And I'm delighted to be joined by Melanya. Melanya, tell us who you are and what you do.
Hi everyone, my name is Melanya and I'm a business developer and growth leader, as I like to call myself, with over 7 years of experience now in the gaming industry. I currently lead growth strategies for a very innovative AI solution where you can personalize monetization and in-app offers for mobile games, which is called Elevatix. And I also host a GameBix podcast myself, which you can find on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, Substack, and of course my LinkedIn.
And we'll
And
provide all that information at the end of the thing anyway.
a lot
But
of links, a lot of links
a
to
lot of
insert.
links, yeah. So let's get into the whole, I mean, you made an interesting point already because what is business development, sales, and growth? They are interconnected things, and you're coming from the point of view. In fact, I now myself I'm running I'm working with a live op strategy platform. That's my new gig, and I am responsible for generating customers and audience
Mhm.
and things like that. And there's kind of a spectrum, I think, of the different ways that different people approach how we connect with our potential prospects and customers. So you talked about BD and growth. How do you define the role BD, and why is growth subtly different from that?
I started 7 years ago from being junior sales manager. So
Yeah,
let's say half of my experience, I've been purely in sales before I joined the business development side and the growth side. So I have this two perspective. I've been there and now I'm on the growth side, which is a little bit different still compared to business development and sales. So and of course, I want to tell you that it's a big difference that we had some strategies and plans before the pandemic and now how we run business and how we run sales. Because previously we had different emails, we had different channels, we had different tactics. During the pandemic, we also had different channels because we hadn't have, these live events and everyone is sitting with their laptops 24/7. So it's also a little bit different kind of story.
yeah.
So I joined the industry before the pandemic, and it was super normal to write long read emails. We had this um, uh, like a lot of cold emailing campaigns, warm emailing campaigns, marketing campaigns, and it were okay. And also Google allowed us to send this, huge amount of emails
Yeah.
before they implemented some of the things. So everything changed all the time. So first of all, you should adapt and you should try different channels and different strategies all the time. I can't say that BD is, here like 10 years and it's always
But
the same. No.
no,
So
exactly. It's always.
yeah.
But I think you're making an interesting kind of. So this is the thing: is that we have a challenge whenever we're trying to connect with people. Where do
Yeah.
we find them? How do we talk to them? And the traditional
Mm,
model of the cold email is now kind of reviled and hated, but it's such a kind of pivotal thing that I think it's easy to ignore what it tries to do. Now, I think your point though about having to adapt our strategy. So for me, when I'm looking at cold email, I'm not looking at expecting a return. I want you to get familiar with seeing my name in
yeah,
your inbox. And
exactly.
if I do that alone, if that's the only thing, if I'm doing, in fact, the ones I hate at the moment, I don't know how you feel about it. The AI generated email threads are generally just not good. Now, I wouldn't have a problem with AI in per se, in order to make my job easier, to speedier, faster, more accurate, whatever. That could be good, but the AI slop emails I get on a daily basis have
Yeah.
magnified 30-fold. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that? Yeah,
I have a funny story. When I'm in a good mood, I
yeah,
actually can reply on these emails and I can suggest how they can improve them because I can say,
yeah,
okay, guys, look, I'm on a service provider side in the gaming industry. I always worked
yeah,
as a B2B SaaS product sales manager or BD manager, and
yeah,
you are now trying to sell me some kind of new tool for game developers. It's not even about the message itself. It's about lead generation. So
Yeah.
you already missed the first step to generate quality leads, and then you will go to a manager and then you will say, okay, we have 80% of open emails and we have 8% reply rates, right?
Yes.
But I am on this list and I'm not your
Yeah.
ideal customer
You're
profile.
never going to be buying that.
Exactly. So, this starts even the majority of emails AI generated, which I got, they were firstly wrongly directed because I was not the ideal customer profile. I was
Yeah.
not even the customer profile.
But
So,
you use some
yeah.
really important words. So people who don't understand BD, there's a couple of things in there you mentioned I think are really worth highlighting. So lead generation and particularly qualified leads.
Yeah,
And this language is something I learned very early on. And in fact, there's different styles and approaches to sales strategy. For
of
me,
course.
I'm one of these idiots that loves to understand the theory. I'm probably better at theory in almost everything I do. Um, if you think about lead generation, what is a lead? A lead is somebody who is either a suspect, so somebody who we suspect might be a prospect, or a prospect. And our aim through qualification is to assess the characteristics of what we think makes somebody look more like a prospect, as in there is a prospect of doing a deal with them, than a suspect. So we are already further down the conversational line. And I think to your point, relevance. We're but much better able to be relevant in the way we talk, in who we're talking to, and the kinds of messages we want to share. Does that make sense? Does that fit with what you're? Have I
Yeah.
weaned out what you were saying well there?
Of yeah, of course, that's correct. I think I agree with this point. So first of all, it's really you need to understand who you're sending these emails because you can also damage your reputation easily, right?
Oh, absolutely,
So that's the
absolutely.
main point. You better not send emails to some guys. If you're a small service provider, right? I will talk
Yeah,
from the service provider side. You better not send emails to some directors at King or Activision or Quali because believe me, people in our industry is not that big that it seems like it's not that big, and your reputation travels very quickly because everyone
that's
is
why I
talking
wear
with
a
each
hat.
other. Exactly.
Yeah,
That's why some people wear hats because then you remember how you look like. And it's like,
yeah,
oh my God, I saw him somewhere, maybe on LinkedIn or maybe somewhere else, but I for sure know his face. And
yeah.
it's exactly with your messages and with your emails. So, first of
Hundred
all,
percent.
yeah, think before who you want to send these emails and why. Because believe me, if we're talking about enterprise guys, but top players of the industry, in my experience, it's like less than 1% that they will buy some service from the emails. So
Yeah.
better spend this
Oh,
time.
way less.
Better spend this time by finding someone from your network that you can ask for referral, or go to their office, schedule some meetings there, or go to event and have a coffee with them. Firstly, they will see that you're a normal person, you're not pushing just any service, and then they will remember you, and then maybe they will reply to your email,
And
right?
this gets to, I think, the most important kind of follow on from, we talked about lead generation, we talked about qualifying the leads. Now we're talking about what I think is the quintessential part of what makes any promotional kind of salesy thing work is the relationship. It, to me,
Yeah.
it's fundamental. I think you've said it really well, which is it's fundamentally about how we relate as people. And I think one of the lessons it sounds obvious, but people don't buy products; they buy people. They buy from people.
Oh, I'm a big believer that people buy from people and it will stay for much longer than everyone thinks. At the end of the
Yeah,
day, support is, we can have these chats bots, which provide you support. But if we have bigger issues with some services or something else, it's always let's have a chat, let's try to connect our technical teams, let's talk, let's have a coffee, and so on and so forth. It's always people.
Yeah,
exactly.
it's
And
always about
I
people.
think I think it will say. I hope it will say, because I don't like this AI generated emails. I like to talk with people, because
Yeah.
maybe if you can't have it this person as a client now, but maybe they have friends or they know someone who needs this service, or maybe in a couple of months he will change these jobs and he will just remember that Oscar or Mel, they were nice people to talk, and now we need this service. So I prefer to play long term, not just sending hundreds of emails and then everyone will think that I'm just copy pasting and changing the names in emails. No, it will damage everything.
So,
Yeah.
but this is the thing in my mind is there is you always need to make that first outreach. You always need to have a first
Yeah.
presence. But I think your point about so, for example, I'm about to head off to Korea for a Pocket Gamer event, which by the time this goes out probably has already happened. um, but the point would be that there are some people I know out there. Great, I've happened to be old enough in the industry and been going along. There's a couple of maybe half a dozen people I already know, but there's a whole bunch of industry people out there who I don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm relying on a personal outreach using secondary connections on LinkedIn. I find LinkedIn to be amazing for this.
Yeah.
However, it so divides people in terms of things. So sometimes I do have to make a cold email. Sometimes I do have
Yeah.
to find some other way to do it. And I think this is a personally, I think this whole process of getting that initial lead generation and qualifying process is about building layers, about here are my social posts, here is where I'm seen, here's how you can confirm I'm a real person, here's articles I've written. And in my case, because I'm an evangelist at heart, my shtick, my thing, my sales approach is the classic thought leadership consultancy style approach.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I do a whole bunch of things, like I do these podcasts, and like you do these podcasts. I do things like 60-second shorts on live ops because that's my expertise and I'm
Yeah.
selling my expertise. But I want people to get genuine value takeaways from those things. Now, does that make sense to you? I mean, is that how do you? I mean, obviously that's my approach. What's your approach? How do you sustain? I mean, obviously we
You're
do a
asking
podcast.
a
How do you
person who
sustain it?
you're asking a person who's also running a podcast in the industry.
Yeah. What a
so
surprise!
so probably you know the answer, but it's exactly as you mentioned. It helps me. It helps me in business, and that's why I try to stay active as much as possible. I also share some things on LinkedIn regarding the monetization, game
Yeah,
analytics, the things where I've been working with, what I've been working, and where
yeah,
I know what I'm writing about, because now we have a lot of people who write about everything, right?
yeah,
And when you look at their expertise, like their experience, it's not connected to their past. So I
yeah,
prefer to be really like in a straight line where I know that I can answer some comments and so on. And I also started the podcast because I have a quite good network, because it's 7th year in the same industry for me. And I was also thinking, first of all, I love people, and it's always passionate for me how we can talk about live ops, game analytics, game
yeah,
development, all these trends. But in the end of the day, we're standing, drinking coffee and talking about dogs, or the next conference that we're going, or who can you connect me with in Korea because I know the person who went there, and like all these kind of things, as friends, as acquaintances in the industry.
yeah.
And I wanted to highlight that part. So that's why I'm also running a
So let me
podcast.
let me run a quick. So my Ella, my business partner, and I have very different approaches. So Ella is the person who goes to the dinners
Yeah.
and has the long conversations with
Yeah.
small numbers of people. I'm the networker. I go to the parties and I
Yeah.
will talk to as many people as possible. And I will, in some of the bigger conferences, for example, Gamescom and GDC, when I was an evangelist at Unity, I was typically doing 4 parties a night
Oh wow.
at these shows. And I wouldn't say forever in them. I was spending like an hour and a half in each
Yeah.
one, but that adds up. And I ended up seeing hundreds of people in GDC, whereas Ella will see small numbers of people, but she gets more quality time with them. Where do you sit on this spectrum between doing the kind of dinner versus the networking?
So I was exactly having these thoughts about the quality
Yeah,
and quantity that you were talking about. So let me tell you, like when I was starting in the industry where I was a sales manager, I also, when I went to my first Gamescom, I remember it's like 4 years or 3 years ago, maybe four, the first one after the pandemic.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that
that's
one I
one.
didn't do. I took the healthy version of not doing that one.
That's one I did, yeah. And I also, when we were, people were, always sharing these links, events in the LinkedIn, and at the end of before the conference, I had a long spreadsheet
Yeah,
with these 10 parties a day, and it is like Finnish party, Polish party, Pocket Gamer party,
yeah.
keywords party, and it's like I want to be everywhere because I need to be everywhere. And I did my mistake because I was trying to be everywhere. I was 1 hour I went to the keyboards, 1 hour I went to the Pocket Gamer, and I spent 30 minutes in the line and then 30 minutes inside, and it was so loud that we couldn't talk. Then I
You
went to
just
another
can't talk.
part,
Yeah,
and in the end of the day, I had so many connections, I had so many chats, but people were tired. They worked all day and they didn't want to talk any like at all about work with me. They were drinking
no,
beer, they want to share some stories, they want to laugh. And now I prefer to have dinner with people that I think that some are potential leads or business partners or future partnerships, whatever. Then I will choose one or two max events that I want to show
yeah,
up, and I also need to be there. And it's better for me now to go sleep at 11 and we'll be fresh tomorrow rather than run
yeah,
all over Köln, for example, right?
yeah.
And then also tomorrow have a busy head and so on and so forth. So now I prefer your partner's strategy,
And
I would say.
I do get it, and I think for me, I am starting to get more focused on the less of the parties than I used to be.
Yeah,
But the reason, just for the counter argument, for those of you who are like, thinking about BD and what's the benefit and advantage, blah 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 blah, the counterpoint is if you are visually memorable, so
exactly.
having the hat, but also have a reputation that goes with
Yeah,
that, and also has the ability to provide knowledge and value. I found it incredibly useful. I literally GDC. There was a point when I was at Unity where I couldn't move more than 50 feet before somebody would come up to me. And that only happens because of being on stage regularly, on
yeah,
having lots of things to say, being in the press a lot, having lots of like videos of whatever, but also going to the network parties and saying I'm an accessible person, even though
yeah.
I'm that not famous, but the nearest equivalent if you're
Recognizable.
very recognizable. That's a
Recognizing.
good way. But because I'm recognizable, because I'm somebody, somebody will know, oh, he does this sort of stuff. The moments people will ask me these questions, and find myself holding court, where I will have like half a dozen people around me asking me questions in these contexts, and we have fun with it. Hopefully, I'm not too dull. But the point of that is, I could get away with it as an evangelist at Unity.
Yeah,
To a certain extent, I can still get away with it because I'm a quote unquote thought leader, whatever that means. No one knows what that means. But as I'm doing more and more of the kind of like platform stuff, I'm finding myself spending more time needing to spend more quality time with individual people.
yeah.
And I think that's the balancing act. How you build up your story.
But I think that it also comes with experience because the more we're in the industry, the more we know people, the more we know companies, their strategies, their plans and how they're working, and you could easily spend time with people now that you want to, and you can send them a message on LinkedIn and they will probably reply you in a couple of minutes. But when I started, I couldn't do it because I
Yeah.
was just a girl with no experience after the university. You know, no one knew me, no one knew what I want from them, and that's why I needed to run through all these parties. So I think it's a tricky question, right?
No, it is. And I think that you need both. I think at some level you need
Exactly,
both,
yeah.
because if you don't go to the networking, you don't meet the new people.
Oh
If
no,
all
you
you
should.
spend, yeah.
You
And
should.
if you, the trouble with dinners, and the reason why I don't like dinners, particularly dinners on boats, I hate dinners on boats.
Oh, I have a funny story. Yeah, I will tell you
Yeah,
about the dinner
but
support.
particularly dinners on boats, because I'm basically sat next to two people with one person opposite me I can talk to. So I get to talk to three people all night long. And that might be okay. But if I can't break out of that and move to another
Yeah,
part of the table, if I can't break out of that and go to another event, I'm not going to be able to hold enough. Value's too wrong. I mean, I don't want to reduce it, because it's about people, like you said earlier. It's about relationships with people, and that's Ella is so much better at the kind of personal, kind of touchy feely stuff than me. I'm too interested in the conversation of depth about the subject matter, and I bore the pants off people. If you don't want to spend 3 hours chatting to me about live ops, I will literally read you a book. And if you like that, great. But if you don't, yeah. But my point is that there's value in both approaches. And at the end of the day, I think most of the work that happens at a conference isn't the 20-minute meet to match, although that's
yeah,
useful, massively useful.
yeah,
It's actually the relationship building. And
yeah.
the relationship building is the thing that, I mean, I don't know about you, but I think this takes time. I don't think it happens overnight.
Of course. And for example, I had several situations where we had this 20, 30 minutes meet to match meeting,
Mm.
and the person would be like, no, we don't need this service. And, we ended the meeting at the terms like I was selling something that he doesn't want. So the tension, the mood is not really positive. But then
Yeah.
I can go to events, and he will be drinking beer, or she will be drinking a beer, and I will be drinking a beer, and I will be talking about, as I told you, like dogs, whatever, industry, live ops, whatever, but not selling, not trying
Dogs
to
is a good one.
I have a Labrador. I can talk like
Yeah.
forever
Oh,
about it.
Labradors are the best. Yeah, black
Yes.
lab.
Yeah, I have a white lab. So
Yeah,
and then this person would be more positively thinking about me, because he will remember me and our last
yeah,
conversation,
yeah,
and then he will reply me my message. But if I
yeah.
didn't had this conversation with them, probably they would be just ghosting me, right? Because, oh, she'll just sell me again this thing that I don't want now, or I didn't understood what she wanted from me. So yes, of course you should go, but be careful with boats. I did I did this. I think every person who steps in the industry should make this mistake themselves, because people warned me, but I was like, I first time going to Gamescom, and it's a huge boat and it's so many people there. And when I got there, yeah, we had an amazing dinner. But as you mentioned, we then spent 2 hours sitting with the same group of people talking. And the end, it was like this, because it was already third hour. Our phones died. We didn't want to go anywhere. I don't know where my colleagues are. I missed all the events that I said I will be there. So
And
I'm
and,
I'm
and
skipping
don't
both
get me
now.
wrong. I get why event organizers want to do a boat. I get it. It is. I mean, the Cologne boat trip is lovely. It's very relaxing, and do
Exactly.
it once.
And that's all.
Once. um, but it's good. I think actually my favorite boat trip of all time was actually White Nights, the first ever White Nights in St. Petersburg.
Mm,
The Julia had organised for us all to go out on the boats in the middle of the night, because it was literally White Night. It was
yeah. And
the
the
sun doesn't
bridges
go
were
down, and the
opening,
bridges
right?
were open.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. Oh, and don't get me wrong, I'm not going to be doing that anytime soon. But it was a magnificent experience,
Yeah.
and I'm so glad I did it. But still, the thing about someone like me is I'm I'm going to want to move on to the next thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think there's a bunch of people who are like me that want to see. I've got lots of people to see, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, we've talked about this quite a lot. So events are great, and the meetings. And by the way, I don't want anyone to let them think that I don't think Meet to Match is good. It's fantastic, and Peter and the team that make
The
it do a
favorites
fantastic
platform
job.
of all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's true.
Thank you. I mean, tons of stuff I'd like to do differently. Like why do I have to log in with a different ID every time? No. Anyway, let's move on. But Fido knows I love him. Anyway, the point it being is the 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 formal meetings are really important, and that's where we do our job. But the thing that makes our job work, I think, is the networking and the dinners. So and I think anyone who doesn't do BD probably doesn't really appreciate how much that is work.
Yeah.
Do you? Am I fair? Is that fair?
Yeah, I even had a couple of posts lately about this because it seems like we're just eating, having coffee and beer with each other, right?
Oh, it's terrible drinking this champagne and having this fine whiskey, but this part of the game.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So this is like this is a fun story because we are not stopping work, right? It's also a strategic move.
Mm.
We're talking with people that's potentially we want to have a partnership with, or we just want to meet, or we just want to network, not just because they're standing in the same crowd, but because we're in the same industry and we're always looking for some things to do together, to
Mm.
promote, to create some case studies together, to collaborate, anything that will help us to
Yeah.
grow. So
To create
it's like
connections, social shared experiences.
exactly. So it's like it's the same meet but in real life, and not just with your notebook and the pen, but with the coffee, cola, whatever you have in your hands. But later, I always come to a hotel. I have a huge amount of notes where I write people's name. I connect with them on LinkedIn. I need to send this information. I need to add this to CRM system. Then I need to think, okay, I talked with this one about the partnership. This one is a potential lead, but this one I need to connect in a couple of months. So it's always working. So
I'm
yeah.
so impressed that you can take notes. I cannot talk and take notes.
No,
I
I'm not
just
doing
wish I
it. I
could.
think it's I was a waiter when I was 15, so I think it's helped me a lot
I,
because
I,
I'm
I
not
was a
doing it.
I
I'm
was
not doing it
also a
as yeah.
waiter, but at
Yeah.
18, at a thing called Butlins, and only British people will understand what a waiter at Butlins is. It is not what you're thinking of. It is really, really not great. Anyway, the
Anyway, it
the
helps
yeah,
me to talk with people, and
yeah,
then when I step out of the conversation, I take my phone and I write Oscar podcast live ops
yeah,
Unity in a message in 2 weeks, and at least
yeah.
I have these small notes. I'm not writing all things,
No.
but at least this, because I
And
will
that's what I
forget.
love. That's what I love
Yeah.
about online calls, online chats, is I can record it, assuming you're okay with me recording it. I'm not going to do it if you're not happy. But my reason for recording it is to get the transcript,
Yeah,
so I
exactly.
can remember what I said I was going to do and
Yeah.
what I said to you at the time. And I think that's fantastic. What I think is also really fascinating with the online transcript stuff is that I can run several different um, conversations through AI to get a summary
Yeah.
of the most common comments and responses, which absolutely helps me understand what it is I'm trying to sell, share, whatever, but also what pain points more and more people have.
Exactly. And I can add here one
Yeah,
important thing also, because I was and I'm still managing sales managers, business development managers during my
yeah,
like my daily work. When you record the calls, then you can use them internally for some trainings,
yes,
because this is
absolutely.
how we can improve as a team. We can see what questions we need to ask. Maybe we need to be less pushy, or maybe we ask the wrong questions, or maybe we didn't ask any questions at all which were relevant for us. So that's how I usually also try to have some internal sessions at least once a quarter to
Yeah,
review a couple of calls. I usually like to do a couple of bad calls and couple of good calls, And it's not about the manager, it's about us as a team going for one goal. So we all need to sit. Customer success managers can also join, sales managers, business development managers, anyone who is interested, what's the potential clients are talking about, what's the questions are, how
Yeah.
we're reacting. We should all reflect. And
Yeah.
then I also love to have a kind of Q&A part in a Confluence or any documentation
Yeah.
system that you're using. So we need to have these frequently asked questions. When the person is joining the team, we shouldn't spend months training and explaining what he's talking about. This person, any person, because I also can forget something can change in the technology side of the product or just in the industry. We need to get a quick access to frequently asked questions, to know how to talk with clients, to not have this bad reputation as not
Yeah.
professionals. So this is also very important to record and also to take notes while you have meetings and something else, then to reflect on yourself and to your colleagues and help. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I mean, I think, like I say, notes are really helpful. I struggle with notes in a like one-to-one situation, but like you say, we just try and write down what we can. What
Yeah.
helps me is making sure that I've got, I actually, yeah, I need to make sure I've got your contact details, and I will
Yeah.
often remember based on your card. I love business cards. Now I know it's old school, but having a memorable business card, and
Yeah.
mine has my head on it. You cannot miss me.
Oh, yeah.
And my old one, I haven't done this for my latest one, but my old one used to have the my favorite three of my three favorite games and my skill rating in them. So what I'm doing with that is, by the way, also a QR code is incredibly useful. So
Yeah.
if the card itself isn't important, but if you've got a face on it,
Yeah.
you're going to remember me.
Exactly.
If you've got
Exactly.
some personal quirk in there, you're going to remember me. If I've got a QR code with a LinkedIn or sorry, a link tree or a LinkedIn address or
Yeah.
whatever it might be, there's an immediate call to action. But the reason why I think that matters, and again, I'd love to know what you think, is you've got an artifact, a physical artifact that will remind you when you met me. Whereas the online connections, you connect on LinkedIn, great, but then when did I connect with you? There is no way to get a list
Exactly.
of who I met when.
Exactly. That's always a problem because a lot of people just try to following me and connect with me, and it's during the conferences also happens.
Yeah,
And I also a frequent speaker at the conferences, and the end of the presentations I like to insert these QR codes, and then I have this huge list of people and I can't remember with whom I talked or who just
you've
connected
got
me from the
yeah.
audience and so on. So yeah,
There's
that's
no
that's
context.
I collect business cards. I also have
Yeah,
business cards. I love business
yeah.
cards.
And I get people who like laugh at me for having business cards, but every time I show them my illustration of my
Yeah.
head, they get it.
Oh, that's
Because the
amazing. Yeah.
hat's at the same angle every single time. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, I know it's stupid. This is stupid detail.
No, it's memorable. That's
Yeah,
it. If it helps you, it's not stupid.
exactly. So keeping notes again. My business manager kicks my ass over this because I'm not good. She's much better at it than me. When you have two people, oh my god, it's so much more helpful.
Yeah.
Um, but you've got to be able to still have that kind of energy to make it worth there being two people. In our case, I'm the guy who knows the kind of like depth of detail about the live ops and the doing and so on and so forth. But she's such a good producer kind of mindset,
Mm.
run lots of studios. She knows the inside needs of somebody who runs their own team, and has a bunch of background on finance as well. So between us, we have a fantastic double act going on. Um, so that can really help. I think it depends on who you're trying to target and why. Because we're trying to target larger companies, we're talking to people who often we've met or we've interviewed on
Yeah.
stage or similar. But having not just me can actually be a benefit
Of course. Of
because
course.
it's not just the Oscar show. And I think that's sometimes one of my biggest obstacles that I have is that people think it's just the Oscar show. Do you have an
Mm.
equivalent with that? Because you're doing a platform. Do you, how when do you get other people involved?
Yeah, that's a hard question, right? Because not everyone is extroverted. Not everyone likes to post on LinkedIn. Sometimes people don't understand how to start.
Mm,
They're like, yeah, I want to be more visual, in the industry and so on, but I'm afraid of public speaking, or I'm afraid of posting on LinkedIn. I think it's stupid.
yeah,
I don't know what to write about. Sometimes people can be amazing at closing deals, having calls, having technical backgrounds, everything, but they can't approach a person they don't know in real life.
yeah,
And it's okay.
and that's okay.
Everyone is different. You
Yeah,
just need to find what you're best at, which is naturally coming from you. Because I also think that if you will force it, I had a couple of examples from the industry friends who were pretty introverted people, and they were trying to force this, for events at nights and so on and so forth, and then they needed to have a vacation after the each
yeah,
conference, which is also not good. If it's not for you, try to focus on other things, because we have so many channels, we have so much to do. um let's switch it between together, and at the end find the best results that we can. So, for
absolutely.
example, I am not afraid of public speaking. I'm a frequent speaker, but it's also a skill. It's not
Yeah,
a secret. I'm not a natural interviewer or a public speaker. No, I was at the debating club at the university. I did training. I did vocal trainings. I'm not a native speaker, in the English language, but I'm learning 8 languages and I speak four each days. And it's also a
you speak
skill.
4 languages a day. Oh my goodness me!
Exactly. Yeah.
I barely speak English.
I love when guys from United States or United
Yeah,
Kingdom is trying to say, "Oh my God, you know more than 2 languages." Yeah,
yeah. Honestly, but I'm with you. The thing is, we have such a luxury being native English speaking because
yeah,
quarter of the planet will be able to respond to you. But there's
exactly.
also a curse to it, which is everybody wants to speak English.
Mm,
So I mean, my French is terrible anyway, but I can never get it any better because everybody wants to
wants
it
to
ends
speak
up
English.
except in
Yeah,
Paris. But
exactly.
that's another story. Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah, so what I was the main point what I was talking about is that if you want to try something new, and if you feel that it's for you, like public speaking, posting on LinkedIn, sharing some articles, doing videos, because for many people it's uncomfortable to do videos, that is okay. Don't push yourself. You can try, and if it's not going well, just don't spend time there. Just go and do what you're good at. If you're
yeah,
amazing at connecting people, that's also a thing that's we need. If you're amazing at writing cool emails which are not AI generated and people answer them, that's amazing. We also need them, because I can't write normal cold emails even after 7 years of experience. Like, uh, no, I'm not good at it, but I think I'm what's excites me, what I'm good at, is that personal connections, personal meetings. LinkedIn, love LinkedIn. This is the best sales channel for me. I think starting from the pandemic times, and it's
yeah,
always been there. So, yeah, just find what is naturally good for you, or try. If you want some things, always try. Always be open, and no one should do same work. You can be
yeah.
amazing, Oscar, at the technical side, liops, and something else, and your colleagues can be, superstar at lunches, dinners, personal connections. And I
Exactly.
think that's the best collaboration as a team that you can have, because you need
Because
to
you
have
can
different
cover more
people.
bases.
Exactly. You should have
I'm gonna
different people.
I'm gonna go back to something you said earlier about not everybody is extroverted. So I think it's really interesting. A lot of people who are introverted think that they can't do BD. The fact is, the best BD people I've worked with have almost always been introverted. So my first sales manager boss, Richard Moneyman, back in the days before I joined the games industry, um, he was a very introverted person. Not in a kind of like, it wasn't socially awkward. He just wasn't that. He was more laconic.
Yeah.
He doesn't say a lot. Um,
Hmm.
but he had that down as a superpower. So he would literally sit there and wait for you, and
Yeah.
wait for you, and you would find yourself just talking because, especially if you're an ADHD boy like me, you want to fill the gap.
Yeah.
And it was really fascinating just to see how far he could just wait and have you tell him. And I'd watch him, and people would tell him every single thing that he needed to know because he would just sit there very patiently listening to them.
But the best advice for that we can give for business development managers now is that you should actually listen more. You need
Yeah.
to know the questions, the top 5 questions that are super important for you to qualify or to for you to understand what they need, what's their pain points, and you should talk less with
And
during the meeting. That's true.
And now I can't give that advice because I am terrible at that. I mean, that's why I have the consulting sale approach
Yeah.
versus the other. But that's where we need. And Ella is much better at asking the questions. I'm better at painting the picture of why you can trust us. And I think working out when to bring these tools out is massively, massively important. There's an interesting thing about though, if you happen to be like me and very mouthy and can't abhor a silence, one thing that's really useful in that is to realize that what you're doing is responding and listening as you're speaking. It's People don't often understand that's what I'm doing. When
Hmm.
I'm talking to somebody, I'm looking at every single nuance of how you're responding to me
Yeah.
because I need to know what's landing. So I'm
Yeah.
hearing, and again, not saying this is the best way. The best way is to them to tell you and to watch the nuance of how they speak because you will assume things. I do that a lot, but the ability to be able to actively listen,
Yeah.
even whilst you're talking, I think is a really key skill set. Does that make sense?
I think that you also should pay attention to the body language
Yeah.
and to everything else, not just what person is telling you, but also how he's looking at you, what's
Mm,
this body language is, especially if we're talking about live meetings. And of
yeah.
course, at the camera, you can also see that if someone will sit like this, so probably they're checking their phone now or reading their messages. So
Yeah.
while I'm speaking like this, probably he didn't hear you for
Yeah.
these 30 seconds.
I
So you
mean,
should pay attention to these things also. So I think that's really
and
important.
it's difficult because sometimes they are as well, though. That's the trouble. It's actually quite difficult to know for certain, but to be prepared for it, I think, is massively important.
Yeah.
I know for me, I'll often be in a call and I don't have the attention span
Mm,
because I find my brain works a little bit too fast. So
mm,
sometimes I need to distract myself in order to focus on what's being said. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I will also sometimes mess up and get too deep into something else. But the point is, it's difficult. It's an interesting thing to realize that humans can all be different in that way. Um, we talked about a whole bunch of stuff: lead generation, qualifying leads, the importance of networking versus dinners, introversion, extroversion, strategies for engaging people, multiple team, blah 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 blah. Um, let's talk about what happens when you've come back from. I mean, we've talked focus a lot of what stuff we do is conference based. Not always the case for everybody doing BD, but that's an important factor. Now we're back in the office. We've got our notes. What's the biggest challenge at that point?
I think that so there is a difference if you're doing a BD alone and if you have a team, right?
Yeah,
Because I'm also a big believer that you should have a CRM system. Spreadsheets, it's not helping in a BD world now. So
yeah.
first of all, really important. I think that's the first step that everyone should do is to transfer all the information to the CRM system, to all
So
the
before
meetings,
we
all
go
the
into
chats.
detail of it, let's talk a little bit about what you mean by a CRM system. So which tools are you tending to use?
So I used the different tools
Yeah,
during my career. Hotspot,
yeah,
Pipedrive,
yeah,
Salesforce.
yeah.
You name them, right? There are a lot of
There were,
different tools,
as it
but they
happens, I'm
solve one.
current. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would just say, I was just going to say, You don't actually necessarily have to use HubSpot or
No, yeah.
PepDriver. I've used all those too as well, by the way. Some of them are overkill. Salesforce I find overkill personally.
It's for
Um,
corporations. I think it's best tool
for
for
corporation, yeah.
corporations.
For
Yeah.
strategic sales, it's really good. PipeDrive is a good compromise between the two. I found HubSpot a bit light, but that's maybe the way I was using it. But actually, currently, I'm used to using a Kanban pipeline in Notion. So I'm using it's not perfect because it's not integrated to my email, but at
Mm-hmm.
the moment I don't have a massive team. I've just got
Mm-hmm.
me and a couple of other people who need to know what's going on. So it is possible whilst you're scaling up to use simpler tools, I would argue. But anyway, the point is
The
tracking
point
it and
is, yes,
stage. Yeah,
exactly. The point is, you should have something where you put all the information with the name, the company name,
yeah,
job title, and some notes from your
yeah,
meetings. And
absolutely.
they should be
Trackable.
understandable not only for you, but also for your colleagues or any
Yeah.
person that will be looking at them. It shouldn't be written as Oscar, beer, keywords, boat, because I would understand it, right?
But you might
But
not understand it in 6 months' time.
exactly, exactly. So I should tell a little, at least two, three sentences, what we talked about, if you want the service or you want our consultancy or not, where I
Yeah.
will connect with you, like LinkedIn, email, Telegram, WhatsApp, anything. And what should I do? The call to action that I need to do. It's a call, it's a message, it's an email, it's a meeting, it's a coffee, it's a meeting at the next conference or something else. That's all. The first thing is to put all the information that you gathered all during the conference into your system or any spreadsheets, anything that you have now.
Yeah.
Then it's also depending, if you're the only person, you need to prioritize to whom you need to write first. So like, it's very easy how much money, let's say, these deals will bring you, or the potential that they have all collaborations and something else. So you need to prioritize, or maybe someone said, okay, we can integrate your service next week. So that's also a prayer. Like, you should connect them now while they're still warm and hot. So you need
Yeah.
to prioritize and start connecting with people the way that you agreed on during your meeting. That's very easy. And I love the CRM systems because you can put the task for yourself, right? On this day, I should write the email to that person. Tomorrow, I need to write a LinkedIn message to that one. So I'm not mixing it up. I'm not looking and searching for this information in my notes or in my computer. I have a system which I open in the morning during my coffee, and I say, okay, I need to write 20 emails today. I have 2 calls today, and then I will do other stuff which is not
Yeah.
connected to the event. Yeah. So the first thing is to not ghost your potential leads, because if you wait too long, it will not be the same as you connected with them during the first or second week after the event.
No,
So
completely.
yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes things get around. It's okay, but then be human and say, "Oh, I'm really sorry to get around," or how you doing? I know it's been a couple of days or a couple of weeks since we last talked. Blah blah blah. Um, in that CRM system, I don't know about you, but for me, one of the techniques I find really useful is I'll have certain stages, and at the certain stages, I will assign a percentage conversion. So the
Yeah.
percentage chance I think that that's going to convert. And I'll put a date by which I think that will happen, and I'll put a value to that. Now, it doesn't have to be a true value for the purposes that I
Yeah.
use it for. I just need to have something where I can show a chart of how I think my leads are going to turn out. So I have
Exactly.
some idea. Have I got enough conversations going on to have the chance of getting the close in time?
Exactly.
Is that how you do
Exactly.
it? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I would tell you that I love labels. I usually
Yeah.
label deals which is like minnows, dolphin, whales for us, who are warm, hot, or cold
No. Yeah.
outreach.
Yeah.
Yes,
I,
we're doing
I
it.
have I have an allergy to the word whale with games. It's but I know why people
we
do it.
we
I
call
just
it
don't like
enterprise
it.
clients. We call it
Yeah, you're
enterprise
doing
clients,
enterprise. Yeah,
but it's the same as whales or big clients or anyhow you are
yeah,
calling it. Is the deals that are bringing you
yeah,
very good amount of big checks, so you should pay attention to them firstly. And
Yeah.
also, I also love when the CRM systems have the sales funnels where you can name each step and you can move your deal, and you can see that this deal is on stage on trial period.
Yeah.
On this deal, we're at the stage of product presented, let's say, right?
Yeah.
We talked, we presented the service, then nothing happens.
Yeah.
Here we are on the stage where we're signing deals, because contracts also differ. If we're talking about smaller studios, smaller contracts, it's usually a quick process. If we're talking about corporations, it can take months to sign all the NDAs, all the
Yeah.
agreements, everything else, and it's normal. So we should also understand. So I love to track all these sales funnels and labels, and then to have the analytics and see, okay, we have a graph, we have 40 deals at the stage of product presented, 20 deals at the stage of their signing the deal, 3 of them already started the trial period, and you can see the whole picture. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And
amazing.
that's why I kind of like Kanban, because that kind of gives me that, and I get to see the contacts in there, and I'll have a view, which is my. It's called a Xerox chart. At least that's when I was taught the
Mm-hmm.
mechanism of like your percentage conversion for a value. That was originally done by Xerox, the photocopy company, back in the
Mm.
day. And so I do that. I don't currently have a history chart of the funnel process, and funnel is such a good way to look at it, because
Yeah,
if you've got these milestones in the conversation, you can
yeah,
try to track where I'm having a problem. So is there something in my messaging
exactly.
that's not working?
Maybe this is a problem with the demo of the product,
Yeah.
or maybe we have a really big churn rate, where we have to sign the contract, so it means maybe our contract is something like complicated or
Yeah.
not attractive or something else. So yeah, you can easily see the percentage and the funnel, and it's amazing what the CRM systems nowadays can do and show you.
Yeah.
And I think everyone should use them if they can,
Mm.
because that's where you will not guess, but you will easily just open and see the results, numbers, and see, okay, we need to improve the reach out, or we need to improve our presentation. That's very easy to answer
Totally,
if
totally.
you have them.
Now, we've talked a lot about lunches and networking, and we haven't talked a lot about two more issues. And I know we're coming close to time. The two issues I want to kind of cover before we close off are ghosting and closing.
uh
So I know these are like, I mean, these are podcasts in that maybe we need to have a second podcast where we talk more about ghosting and closing. But given that we've got a short amount of time for now, how do you deal with being ghosted?
I love approach people in real life who ghost me.
Yeah. Hey, how you doing?
Exactly.
Yay. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. um Without any jokes, that's true. If I know that I really need this person, if I really need to talk with them, I will remember their face, or I will take a screenshot of their LinkedIn, just save, and I will know that they're on during this event, so probably I need to see them. And I will approach them and I will talk with them, and no worries for me. I have no shame saying that, guy, look, I sent you a couple of messages, probably you missed them, or probably
Mm.
they were not so relevant, but let me tell you now, we have 2 minutes, and if it's a clear no, just tell me and we will not spend each other's time,
And we
but
love a
maybe there is
no.
a chance. Yeah.
We should fall in love with getting no. I know that's terrible
Oh,
because
it's so much
yeah,
better than just being
yeah,
ghosted, because
yeah,
I know the answer. Because if you're ghosted, it doesn't mean that the person don't want your service or doesn't want to work with you. It means that maybe they got distracted.
yeah,
Maybe your email is in spam folder. That happens
yeah.
sometimes also.
It does.
It
Yeah.
means maybe they were trying to answer you, but then they looked at the clock and it's, oh my God, I have a daily stand up with my team. So they went there and they just forgot about you, and the message was in drafts.
Yeah.
Or it means that your message is shitty and you just can't sell your service in a message. That's also a result. That's
And
also a
that's okay.
result, and
That
that's
can be
okay.
fixed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I love when people are telling me no, or at least something, or not now, or why not now, because that they spend time right, replying
Yeah,
me, and I will not bomb them with any follow-up messages later. So
completely. And
that's amazing.
I'd
Yeah.
go, I'd go a little further. One technique I like is reciprocation.
Mm-hmm.
So what I mean by that is, it. You said it earlier about it's not just about the sales conversation.
Yeah.
Now, if I have some value add, some interesting angle that's useful for somebody, I will try to give that as the next conversation. So I'm not just replying to you, blah, 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 where are you, where are you, where are you? I'll be doing things like, well, hang on a minute, I've got a conference coming up that I know that the organizers need a speaker on this subject. Would you be interested?
Yeah.
And another example is I'm trying to set up a bunch of round tables, and I genuinely want these same people who I want to have a sales conversation with, but I genuinely want just them to be there to talk about best practice because they're good at their job. I wouldn't be talking to them if they weren't the people who knew their stuff.
Yeah.
So this is I get the benefit of trying to create that kind of like community kind of engagement, but at the same time, that's something that a lot of these people will want to do themselves anyway. And so it's not necessarily going to push the sales conversation further. That's okay, but it gives them a reason to not ghost.
Yeah.
It gives
Exactly.
them a safety valve to continue a conversation when they might be embarrassed because they can't get an answer because there's some thing going on in their company they can't talk about or that blocks them.
Mm-hmm.
It's unrelated to you. I think having that like reciprocation to provide a safety valve so they can talk to you independently, I think is really useful.
Exactly. I had situations where I was trying to reach out the person for a couple of months, and then they changed the company, and then they replied me like, "Sorry, I was in the middle of changing the companies. I also took some time off,
Yeah.
and I was really I couldn't share that I was leaving the company, so I just didn't reply. So it's not
I get it.
always
Yeah.
about you. So and yeah,
It's
also
not
it's
me, it's you.
look, but as we discussed it before, I also ghost
Yeah.
sometimes, and you too, I believe, because I have so
Yeah.
many messages in my
We all
inbox,
do.
and they're so bad right now. I don't want to spend my time replying to them no things, because I know that it's like a massive campaign.
Yeah.
But if people reaching out to me on LinkedIn, I always try to reply, even if it's just hi, no, think it's not interesting for me now. I try to do it because I know how they feel. So yeah.
Totally. Totally. I mean, but the thing is, it's like I have so many emails that are just not relevant. I don't have the
Yeah,
time to reply to them.
exactly.
And the thing is, that means I sometimes miss relevant emails because the sheer
Yeah,
volume makes it impossible to see
yeah,
those things. And it's getting worse with the spam and AI stuff. And
yeah,
I mean, one of the things I've really enjoyed is there's a tool I've started using with my I forgot the name of it, but there's a tool I've started to use where it will makes it very, very easy to unsubscribe from mailing lists and to block people
yeah.
very, very quickly. And
Love
all
it.
the AI ones are getting their block, 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 unsubscribe, so
Yeah,
unsubscribe. Um,
love this feature.
anyway,
Thank you.
we could carry on talking about ghosting and how we deal with, keeping the relationship, the conversation going, like you say, in person or by
Yeah.
reciprocation or some other method. But we want to close. So we have no time to have that conversation properly. But if you were to say the things that have helped you work out how best to close, what do you think is the kind of the key factors?
Personal connections,
Mm,
personal real life connections. That helps me open so many doors and close so many
mm.
deals
Yeah.
at the
I
same
mean,
time.
for
Yeah.
me,
And
it's keep. I'll
yeah.
cover it. Yeah.
No, no, no. Please continue. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say one thing I found really useful is to put in my mind why is the thing that I'm doing going to get them promoted?
But it's hard when your ICP is
Uh,
someone is C-level.
no, I get it, but that's the thing in my head is that if the person who if I can't, I need to find a way to get the person I'm connecting with promoted, and that's a shorthand for all sorts of other things. That's not the literal
Yeah.
answer, but if it's what it's asking, so what?
Mm-hmm.
what's in it. Why does it matter to them personally as much as it matters in terms of the value we're adding? What problems that they are currently experiencing, what pain points they're currently experiencing,
Yeah.
are going to drive them over the point where they go, I need this, I have to do this, this is necessary.
And also, very important point I think here is that maybe they don't have these pain points now, and maybe
Yeah.
don't need it now, but you need to clearly always show what are you trying to sell them. They should clearly
Yeah.
understand your product. When they open the web page, they should see in one sentence, they should understand what's the product about. When you start talking with them in one sentence, in two sentences, they should understand what are you trying to say to them. Then they will remember this. Not
Yeah.
a long story of imagine that today we're doing this and that and it will help you if you do. No. They will not remember this. Always know clear message and the main pain points, like top three things that you will cover, and that will help their teams or this
Yeah.
person exactly. And also with the rise of AI in all these solutions, I think the very important point is always to highlight that it will not be the solution that will your half of your team will be fired, right? Because everyone is afraid of it now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you can also lose a lot of deals right now if you have some kind of AI product, because the first thing that they will have in mind that, oh, okay, we will solve so many things, how our team will be gone. And people don't want to hear this now. Everyone is afraid. We have this
But it's
situation in the
not even
industry.
true. It's never been true. We've always
Exactly.
said, I mean,
Exactly,
so,
but it's happening. Yeah.
but there are some genuine reasons to be frustrated with AI. And I would argue it's the financial model that rather than the technology per se. But there's also the environmental impact. But that's also an important question to be thought about. However, I think that what's interesting for me is a comment that, again, my business partner said the other day, is that I don't know how I used to do the things that I now do before AI.
No,
It's
you
like,
know, it just
yeah.
you use so frequently, so you can't imagine your life right now without them. But
But
look,
it's particularly things like, and I've got to fill in a particular form in a particular way. I've got to come up with a way of wording something
mhm,
that's going to be appealing. Um, and it's not replacing the originating thought.
yeah,
It's using it
polishing
to
it. Let's
polish,
say, yeah.
optimize, or to seed what ideas I could have.
Hmm.
Um, I'm guilty of using a little bit kind of AI in some stuff that I'm doing for an actual play. So I do actual play game podcasts as well, just for fun, and I write scripts for that. But I will often use AI to seed my initial idea. I always end up writing it,
Yeah.
but it's a way of giving me a chance to think wider before I narrow down what it is I want to do.
Exactly. And I think that now you should use these AI tools to be better, quicker, and
Yeah.
smarter. You shouldn't afraid of them. You should implement and see which tools are helping you to do some things quicker, in a beautiful way, polishing your text. That's okay. You shouldn't spend time now doing it. But I am also not I don't believe that AI will fully replace, let's say, live meetings, if we're talking
No,
about sales or closed deals. Yeah, maybe some of the deals can be closed during with the emails, let's say, AI generated, but never in my experience I've had some deals that are closed, if we're talking about middle size and the top studios, just with emails. Like, guys, it's not working like
never,
this.
never
Never.
whatsoever.
So yeah, some things can be automated and we should use it now to be quicker, faster, and so on. But
But
don't
we
be
have to
afraid of
remember.
them.
No, exactly. Don't be afraid of it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But we have to remember that there is an environmental cost we can't ignore, and we need to lobby for the system to get more efficient. That's a wider conversation. That's more than just an individual. But on top of that is realizing that AI is going to revert to the mean, to the average. And
Yeah.
anyone who spent more than 10 minutes trying to get an AI tool to give you a good strapline knows how quickly it reverts to terrible, terrible answers.
Yeah.
And you have to add your own human element to it to make it not
Yeah.
terrible.
Exactly. Exactly. You can also overdo it and it's also bad. So.
Exactly. Mel,
Know
thank
the
you so much for
limits.
that. That's been such fun chatting to you. And hopefully we can do more of that. If there one last thing you'd like, anyone who's like worried about doing business development, worried about the kind of the BD sales process, growth strategies, things like that, what's that one piece of advice you'd give people to take away from this conversation?
One thing that's actually helped me not to quit sales um, is when, after the pandemic, I started to attend live conferences, just
Mm,
meetups, events, and I started to talk with people. And that's how I understood that rejections are not about me and it's not me doing a bad job. So if you ever just sit and send emails and you have very a lot of bad replies or negative replies or even ghostings, try to find local meetups, events, and just go and network with people, and you will see that we're not very bad people and everyone is really funny,
yeah.
smiley, and happy. And it's just the people need to talk with people, and that's how the best business, I think, and the best collaborations and the best deals are happening. So don't hide in these emails and messages. Also, don't forget that you need to network. That's very
Yeah.
important.
No, totally. And from my point of view, I think summarizing this up, I think hopefully we've given you a kind of sense of like there is a structure, there is a formula, there is a pattern to the way that we can approach sales processes and business development processes efficiently and effectively. There are tools out there, CRM, AI, various other things that we can use to magnify our capacity. And even the humble cold email has its place, but its place has become less relevant, more around seeding than necessarily expecting direct results. But at the end of the day, what we're talking about is people processes and engagement with an audience. And what we're doing there isn't just selling, it's listening. It's about understanding what the pain problems are. Because at the end of the day, if we're going to convert that to a sale, if we're going to have that person sign up to our project, we need to build that level of trust and understanding and deliver them something they care about. Something that's so important that they are willing to put their money on the line, their reputation on the line to follow what you're offering. That's what we're about. And next time you're thinking about, can I do BD, and you feel a little bit uncertain, hopefully that's given you some sort of a way of thinking about it, way of framing it, and realize that everybody's got their own sales technique. Everyone is selling at various levels. We don't have to be ashamed about it. And that's something I've struggled with. I've never liked calling myself a salesperson. I'm an evangelist. But at the end of the day, we're always having to have a relationship with people that leads to a conclusion. And what is sales if it's not that?
Thank you so
On
much.
that note,
Amazing.
thank you. And on that note, Mel, thank you so much for taking time with me. I hope you've enjoyed that. Please like, subscribe, share, follow, whatever it is on your various systems. And please check out Mel's podcast as well. We'll provide the information on that in the show notes. And obviously, you can look up all the other podcasts on the Game Dev Local side. And also, if you want to take part in a conversation about this, don't forget there's a Game Dev Local Discord. There's lots of people out there, lots of indie game developers out there wanting to talk and share and understand more about how they can get the best out of working in this amazing industry. And as Mel said, it's all about the people. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much.